Here we will be learning about surds, what surds are, and how to simplify expressions involving surds. Surds, if you're not sure, are basically the square root sign. So any expression that has a square root sign has a surd in it. Alright, let's have a look at that. In this video, you will be able to answer these questions without a calculator. So So let's practice and learn some rules before I show you how to answer these questions. What you should be familiar with is these two rules with surds. If you have a number that is product of two terms under the square root, you can simply rewrite it as the square root of those numbers. For example, if I have 40 here, I can rewrite 40 as what are the factors of 40? 5 and 8. But 5 and 8 actually are not square numbers. I'm gonna, rather than using 5 and 8, gonna use 10 and 4. If I write 4 times square root of 4 times the square root of 10, that's the same as having the square root of 40. This is one of the rules. Why did I choose 4 and 10, not 8 and 5? Because I know a square root of 4 is 2, so I can write that 2 times the square root of 10. Notice this is not the same as this small 2 in front of 10. So don't confuse this expression. These are not the same. Equal sign is not applicable here. Alright, so that 2 means that I have square root of 10 plus the square root of 10. That square root of 10 is repeated twice. This means just simply square root of 110. Alright, if you don't put the 2 there, automatically everybody will think that you are taking the square root anyway. So be careful. Alright, I'm going to wrap this up and show you the next rule. The next rule is division. So if you have a number, a fraction that can be simplified, for example, if you have 90 over 10, think of it as the square root of 9 because 90 divides by 10. But you could also think of it as the square root of 90 over square root of 10. Alright, so it depends on the context of the problem. Sometimes you might want to turn this into this and then evaluate it, or which will give you square root of 9, which is plus and minus 3. Sometimes you might want to go from right to left or from left to right. It's completely up to you and it depends on the context of the problem. So, if we've been asked to simplify square root of 18, what you're looking for is the highest square number that you can divide 18 by. What are the factors of 18? 2 and 9 or 6 and 3. 6 and 3 are not square numbers, 6 or 3. So we're going to leave 6 and 3 alone and rather use 2 and 9. So you write this as square root of 9 over times the square root of 2, and then you evaluate it to be 3 times the square root of 2. Notice you can drop the times sign and these two are exactly the same. Don't confuse this with cube root of 2. Cube root of 2 would have a small 3 on the top, but we don't mean that. We mean 3 times the square root of 2. Next question. So a square root of 20 over 2. What's the highest of 20 that is a square number? The highest square number we can divide 20 by is a 4. So you use 4 and 5 as its factors, and you evaluate the square root of 4 to be 2. So that cancels away the denominator. You're simply left with square root of 5. Now, in this example, we're going to add surds. I've put some color code in here so you understand what's happening. If you're adding 2 lots of root 3 plus 5 root of square root 3, it's like apples and apples. You could think of square root of 3 as apples. 2 apples plus 5 apples make 7 apples. So in our case, we could write as 7 lots of square root of 3. Now I've tried to expand it and show you that the answer to the problem up there is 7 root 3. Okay, you can simply go and write the answer here. Now have a go at the two questions at the bottom of the page and then compare your answer with me. Pause the video and have a go. I hope you've had a go at this. The answer to the first problem is 7 root 5, and the answer to the third problem is 9 root 7, because you simply taken away 3 from 12. Alright, so let's look at the next example here. Here we are multiplying terms by each other. I've tried to show you that the square root of 3 times the square root of 3 will give you 3. Alright, if you're not sure why, it's because when you're multiplying, you're adding the powers here. The square root means power of a half, right? And when we multiply 2/3, we are basically adding half and a half. So we end up with 3 to the power of 1. You don't have to write the 1. You don't have to write the 1. So that's what it is. Square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is this. Alright, so what about the 2 and a 5? Well, you can just simply think of 2 times 5 times 3. Alright, so if you think about the expansion here, I've got 5 lots of root 3 and 2 lots of root 3. So multiplying them, each of these boxes will have a 3 in it. How many boxes do I have? I have 10 boxes because 2 times 5 is 10. 10 times 3 is 30. So you could have came to the answer with color coding expression, underlining them, and getting this answer. So the original question could have been written as 2 root 3 times 5 root 3. If you see some expressions like so, or a bracket inside with these uh, expressions inside the bracket, that means multiplying them. Alright, let's look at where you would use these rules. For example, this bracket here, you write this like 5 root 2 minus root 6. Notice here we're going backwards here, and we're going from the right to the left. Alright, expanding brackets means doing that. Now, have a go at the next example. So that involves multiplying 2 by 5, 2 by root 3, 5 by negative root 3, and negative root 3 times positive root 3. Notice here, you're going to end up with a negative 3 because of the minus sign for your final term. Alright, so it'll work out to be this expression here, which simplifies to 10 minus 3 will give you 7. So we write the positives first in maths and then the negatives. 2 minus 5 will give you minus 3. Alright, so let's look at the next question here. We have to simplify and not use a calculator. Right, so we can divide root 6. Actually, we don't have to divide root 6. If we say that all of these numbers, 294, is a multiple of 6. How do I know that? I had a guess and I tested with my calculator. 294 divides by 2 and by 3, therefore it divides by 6. So that's 6 times 49. Okay, so you can factor a root 6 out of every term here. You end up with this expression. Splitting 24 into 4 times 6 will give you so. So then we can evaluate. This root 4 is another 2, and this square root of 49 is a 7. So now we basically have 5 root 6 minus 4 root 6 plus 7 root 6. So if we rewrite that, it's like adding apples with each other. Was 5 minus 4 plus 7 is 8. So the final answer is 8 root 6. Alright, happy practicing. I'll see you in the next video where we rationalizing denominators.